Hi, Matt.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm very good. Yeah, yeah.
Good. I've had a very productive day so far since 2:30 in the morning. It's been amazing.
It's since 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, yeah. I did go to sleep at like 9 last night because I was really tired. I normally start my day at 4 or 3:30, but yeah, 2:30 is fine because I actually went to sleep at 9, so I actually had enough sleep. And I've just finished sharing massage swaps with a friend, and so she's fixed my back, like her neck, it's amazing. So, and I gave her Reiki, so it was perfect way to start the day.
Beautiful. I can't believe you're up
Mm.
at 8:30 in the morning. Does that get tough in the afternoon? Like run out of steam?
Yesterday I struggled a bit. As long as I get 6 hours sleep or 5.5, I'm okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
I've,
yeah.
I've heard I've heard some people can do that. I'm an 8 hour a day man. Or 8 hour sleep night. Yeah.
I used to be like a 10 hour, ideally 9 or 10, but I think being a woman about my age, a lot of women go through this lack of sleep thing, with the hormones and that.
Right. Okay.
So, you just have to deal with it basically. So, yeah, I've been a single mum for ages, so I just am used to dealing with tiredness and whatever. You just get on through it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Oh,
good.
it's more productive hours, I suppose.
Oh, it really is. It's like my peak time, actually. No one's around. It's dark, quiet. It's awesome. Actually, I get a lot of stuff done.
Yeah, the morning's perfect, eh? I like the morning for creativity. Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, awesome. Now Rachel's joining us. And so, Lisa, did you have your dad joining us or did you?
Unfortunately, he doesn't have Zoom, so that's why it's going to be very useful that it's recorded.
Ah,
Um,
sure.
yeah,
No, that's cool. Yeah. Because people
I
like
do.
that sometimes, if they don't know how to use Zoom, just the web-based Zoom, like when you actually send the link, they just click the link and it'll take them to the web page.
Even if they don't have Zoom,
Correct.
right? Okay,
Yeah.
No, I think they have to have Zoom uploaded on their
I think they
device.
do. I thought they did as well. Are you sure, Matt, that it goes straight through even if they don't have Zoom?
Yeah, I use it for class
Right.
every day. And they just click
Okay.
the link and it takes them to the web base and
Awesome.
they don't even have to sign in unless you request that on your settings. I think maybe Rachel, it might be just different settings because I use it every day for guys that I'm contacting with my programs and none of them have used it before and they seem to get
Well,
on.
that's really good to know, Matt. That's
Some
really
people,
useful. Thank you.
yeah, some people have trouble, but most people seem to be able to get in there easy enough.
So like
Excellent.
even I've had things pop up where they say you need to have like you can just click on the link so they don't have to do anything to access it. But I thought it had to actually be downloaded either on your phone or the computer. But if other people
Mm,
you're
No, I think
don't.
it might be to do with your settings too, because
right. Oh, that's really useful to know, actually. Very useful, especially for older people who don't know about Zoom. And, they get a bit freaked out when you're like, oh, Zoom. And they're like, oh, I don't know. We don't know Zoom, you know?
yeah, well, some of the people that I'm talking to that are after some coaching and things, they're not that tech savvy either. And yeah, I've
Exactly.
been able to get them on reasonably easy. So yeah,
Excellent. Now I
so
did put hi Rachel, nice to meet you. I did put it on
Rachel
my Facebook
definitely do it.
page about this. And definitely I had some people say, oh yeah, I really would want to hear it and I really want to come, but I can't. A friend in the States can't make it right now because she's at a friend's house or something. And so it's really useful that this is recorded. So and I did get feedback from a friend in New Zealand saying that this does really work. So he knows about it and uses them. So yeah, very interested to hear all about it.
Yeah, so I invited Rachel along because Rachel, being an MD, has a really good understanding about exactly how the light works or how these patches work to activate the stem cells and your regeneration process. And so we could potentially do, I think Rachel would be happy to do a presentation as well if there's more interest later on, if we plan it that way. But this was just really just to run through with yourself, and I thought maybe if your dad wanted to see it as well, having
Totally.
Rachel on board and explain how she sort of came about getting to know these patches and using them herself, and people that she knows that are using them.
Excellent.
So, yeah, really just with regards to the one product that we really want to show today is called the X39. And Rachel could speak a little bit on that, because I'm not sure if you've actually even watched the David Schmidt video on the X39.
A little, very early this morning before I started. Yeah, at about 2 o'clock this morning. So just a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, there's some really useful links and things that we can send out and send
Yeah.
out to people as well. But we'll introduce Rachel, and then I'll, once Rachel's spoken a little bit about the X39, then I can sort of show a little bit about how the enrollment process occurs and the benefits of actually enrolling and getting a discount, and for future orders as well. So, Rachel, would you like to elaborate a little bit about how you got into the X39 and sort of how it works? I think people just want to know a little bit about, you know, the medical side of things, how it actually works in the human body.
Yeah, of course. Hi, Lisa.
Yeah.
And anyone else who's watching this recorded. But so you have not tried them yet. Is that
Not
just
yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so just a little bit about me. I'm not going to go too much into depth, but I think that there is some pertinent information about me that as to how I came to this that's important. So I'm a Canadian medical doctor, anesthesiologist, and I had been practicing hospital-based, mostly anesthesia, until 2021. So I've not been practicing for the last 3 years now because of the mandates here. And which by the way, were just lifted in July 26th of this year, which is insane.
Wow.
But in that time period, I actually didn't think I was going to be away. I didn't think I was kind of walking away from work completely, because I've been practicing for 20 years. I'm a single mom. That was the way I was supporting my family, supporting like my children basically. And yeah, that's what I'd done, gone through straight through school. Didn't necessarily have any other ways of supporting myself or my family. But I had always had this propensity for wanting to be healthy myself personally. And that was kind of solidified as I moved through the traditional system. And what I witnessed every single day, I was going to do everything in my power to make sure I did not have to access the conventional system, because I knew that I saw maybe a skewed view, but at the same time, I just didn't want to go anywhere near it if I didn't have to. So what that meant to me, though, what I had learned basically was to do with exercise mostly. I think when we're younger, nutrition just doesn't, we don't think of it playing as big of a role as it actually does. We think we can exercise our way out of a bad diet, which we can't. Anyways, in the time period since I left, I did a lot of researching because I have just a passion for learning. And just prior to that, I just want to share that I did go through a really bad divorce that spanned years and led me to discovering Joe Dispenza and kind of a whole new world in that area. And my mom having cancer and nutrition. And so broadening my mind and as to how the body works, including energy, which is something that is completely left out of conventional medicine entirely, despite the fact that it is used routinely on a daily basis to for testing. For example, an ECG that measures the heart, or an EEG measuring the electricity from the brain, like the electricity coming off of all of us. We are electrical beings. That is energy. So it's just left out of treatment modalities. So I started to have an understanding of that with all of the upheaval in the world, and my being kind of open and a sponge to the unveiling of everything that was going on for me anyways, that also took me and led me to a neurosurgeon who's also a dentist and an oral surgeon in the US named Dr. Jack Cruz. And I started learning from him about all the ways that there was a lot of information missing in our traditional education system. And what he started to elaborate on was how light really is the primary driver of our physiology. And so our circadian rhythms, the light and dark cycles in nature, and how that actually runs our biochemistry. So conventional medicine focuses really on the mechanistic view of the body, the biochemistry, so the drugs changing all of the biochemistry. And that's really the downstream effect of how our body runs. What is really upstream comes from energy and light. Light is energy, light is information. So that was something that I've been studying for the last couple of years. And in that, I was learning all about, I'm very excited, learning all about the details and really the details of the science behind how the body works and what light does in the body. And then I came across these patches. So I actually had heard about them a year and a half ago. It took me a little while to delve a bit further because of what I was seeing from people and knowing what was going on. And then them saying, well, I've started on these patches. I said, I got to take a little bit more of a look at these, and realized they weren't quite what I had thought. They were even more. And so because the nature of the patches are such that there's nothing foreign going into the body, that's a huge deal, right? In this day and age where we have all these medications and pills, and it really affects our bodies in a negative way. These patches they're non-transdermal, so nothing from the patch is entering the body. There's no contraindication, so there's nothing basically to say that one cannot use these patches. There's a couple of caveats that some people, I would say some people might be concerned about. It's not that there's any harm to it. It's just that it might affect other things differently, which I can go into. They basically help enhance your own body's system of healing. And they just reflect the light that we already emit back into our body to affect the changes. So most people don't understand that we actually emit light. That's not an esoteric concept. It's measurable. We just don't have the tools at our disposal, in a mainstream fashion to be able to measure this, but it is measurable. We emit light, and that comes from our chromosomes, and it comes from within our mitochondria. We actually produce infrared light, which is otherwise known as infrared heat, which most people understand a little bit better because we're warm-bodied beings, right? We stay warm. We're warm from the inside. When the environment's cold, we shiver, but we also make heat within our mitochondria. So what these patches do is they act like a mirror, and they reflect key frequencies. So specific ones, there's a whole array, thousands of wavelengths in the spectrum of light, visible and non-visible. They reflect, depending on which patch it is, but we're focusing on the X39, specific frequencies of light that then affect changes in the body. Now, the X39, what it does is it actually affects over 4,000 genes in our chromosomes. So we've got they did the Human Genome Project back in the early 2000s. And apparently, it was a big disappointment because they assumed they were going to find one gene for every protein in the body. That's not what happened. We basically got the same number of genes as, I think, the Drosophila fly. I think they might have more. But we've got about 18 to 20,000 genes. This particular patch, the X39, increases a specific peptide called GHKCU. It's just 3 amino acids, glycine, histidine, and lysine, plus copper. So it increases that peptide. That peptide then affects over 4,000 genes and resets them to a younger state. One of the genes, which is actually called P63, is the one that is connected to stem cells. So one of the many things that GHKCU does is it increases the expression of that gene, which increases your own stem cell production, as well as your own stem cell activity. Now, a lot of people may not know what stem cells do and what they're there for and why they're so important, but they are really at the basis of our healing ability, because we've got about, depending on who you read, about 50 to 100 trillion cells in the body, and we're always turning them over. They're being used, they're getting repaired, they're damaged, they're dying, and we're replacing them. And how we replace them is by stem cells. So when they're being repaired, we've got, that's the repair and regeneration mechanism of the body. And that's one of the things that happens when we sleep, which is why sleep is so important. We do all the tear down and the kind of the renovations in the cells, and then we replace them. And the stem cells can turn into any cell in the body that needs replacing. We were not taught this in medical school, that we could actually reactivate our own stem cells. We were taught that we had to go to basically the placenta or the umbilical cord of babies to get stem cells and then have them injected. But injected stem cells, at this point, I'll just go through the differences. So these patches are much safer. They're using our stem cells. There's no risk involved when you're doing an intravenous, or not an intravenous, depending on what you do. They might inject it straight into an organ or a joint, but anything that is invasive always involves risk. So nowadays they actually will pull stem cells out of someone's body and then have them processed and put them back in. So they don't necessarily have to be from somebody else, but they still do that. So there's the potential that you might be getting someone else's, for example, blood product. It's invasive, even if it is involving just you. It's a procedure, and there's always a risk with procedures. The other thing is there's potential for complications. There's potential for infection. There also is, never mind the cost of and stem cell therapy that is not with the patches is anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 a pop. And they usually recommend 3 treatments at least, because the efficacy of them working is about 30%. So they say to have 3 to make sure that you can't even make sure, but just to have the best potential outcome. Never mind that you'd probably have to travel somewhere. I don't know if they're offered in New Zealand, but they're not offered in Canada anymore. Like Health Canada used to have them, or Canada used to have them, and Health Canada then just a few years ago deemed them illegal. So that's no longer available. And there was one last thing I was going to mention. Oh, so one of the other potential risks, and this was something again that I only learned recently, was, and it's very important to know, in my opinion, with the patches, you do not have to direct where those stem cells are going, because the body is using its own resources. So the body, you're not interfering with anything. The body knows what to do and what's priority. So what needs repairing, where it needs to go, how much needs to be done, and when it needs to be done. When you're injecting something from the outside, the body is getting something that's foreign. Even if it's yours being taken out and then re-injected, it's still something that's being put into the body. And at this point in time, there is no ability to direct those stem cells to where you want them to go and what you want them to turn into. So some of the tests, what I've heard is they're getting better at this, But some of the tests that have been done with animals in the past were they injected stem cells, for example, into the brain, and, you know, all of the animals died because they started getting, you know, heart muscle, teeth, hair, whatever it was in the brain, which is not what you want, because you can't direct the stem cells to what to turn into.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you know, that's why there's a lot, you know, I saw a lot in my career of complications and things that it's kind of like within the system, you go, well, that's what happens when you start messing with the body. You can't take
That's,
away the risk. So
that's why they say you go to the doctor's practice, and the doctor practices on you, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Sorry.
yeah, no, that's okay. So as far as I just want to mention before I forget, because I think in the last presentation, I did forget to mention this, but so these patches, they're amazing. And what I've seen, I can talk about what I've seen as well with them. And I apologize for the noise. I'm outside, just a plane going over, but they're not a replacement for lifestyle, living a healthy lifestyle. And I say that, and I really try to emphasize that a lot, because especially in this day and age, people want quick fixes. We're just conditioned to have the quick fixes. And although we might know intellectually it shouldn't be that way, we still kind of, you know, so many people are like, well, it's been a week, you know, and I haven't really seen anything. Although they'll say, I haven't really seen anything, but my sleep is better, my energy is better. And I'm bringing this up because this came up today with two people who said, you know, well, I don't really see much change, but my sleep is better, my energy is better. So what I say to that is your sleep and your energy are actually foundational to your healing, because your sleep is when all of the repair and the regeneration takes place. So if you're not getting adequate sleep and you don't have the adequate hormones during that time, you're not going to have the repair and regeneration take place that's needed. When it comes to energy, what I try to explain to people is it's like a cell phone. You've got a full battery, but as you use the cell phone, you drain the battery. And then when you get to the low, you know, below 10% or whatever, low battery mode, things start to shut down, and there's only a certain amount of energy left, and it has to prioritize and keep the phone running at all expenses. So not everything in the phone can run. So that's just like our bodies. If we don't have enough energy, it's going to prioritize where that energy is going to go. And, you know, your heart beating, breathing, taking in oxygen, your brain functioning. But, you know, it might shut down your gut. It might shut down your kidneys. It might shut down, you know, your thyroid, all sorts of things. So the more energy you have, the more things can be running in your body. That includes the repair and the regeneration, because that is often what gets taken out first, right? To keep everything else going.
Awesome.
So those two things are really, yeah, they're really important. And
so you can almost keep the tabs open, right? The body can keep more tabs open and have the tabs open that are kind of focusing on that area that needs, you know, the repair, like a sore back or the skin or scars. There's all sorts of testimonials too, isn't there? There's quite a lot available that we can provide to people to have a look through. Rachel's been in this longer than I have, so she's seen a lot.
And I would suggest and recommend people join, if you can add them to that Facebook group called Patches with Purpose, because that really allows you to sift through like so many incredible testimonies. But even myself, when I started, I mean, I went in because my mom's got heart issues, and I'm not going to go into detail because I know like I could literally probably talk for hours here, but I went in because really there was absolutely no downside to my mom doing this. And the price, again, I mean, I would have paid more for this because it's so safe, right? There's really no reason not to try it. And if my mom can avoid heart surgery, that would be incredible. And me going into this was also the testimonials that I'd heard from the person who enrolled me, who is a cardiac surgical nurse, and she worked in the field for 20 years, telling me the things that she'd seen in a year and a half with heart patients she'd never seen in her 20-year career working in the operating room. So that's
Awesome.
what we just went all in. And because I was so excited about this type of this technology, you know, being not harmful, like really there's only benefits that can come from it, non-invasive, you know, no medication. Like there's really, I honestly don't see how anyone could walk away from even attempting this, just trying it, right? Like I don't really
Yeah.
have many things going wrong, but I, you know, tried got my mom on them, and within 2 weeks she was walking faster. Like she's got heart failure, so we would have to stop very often for her to catch her breath, and she was walking significantly faster and talking to me. Like that also requires energy, right? And that was within 2 weeks. I was shocked. And then within 3 weeks she actually had to lower her thyroid medication because her thyroid started producing more of its own thyroid hormone. So that to me was just unbelievable. And, you know, even before I got the patches, I'd ordered them. I ordered the biggest package so we could make sure my mom had everything she wanted. And I was like, well, I'm going to try them. I want my kids to go on them. And full disclosure, I'm sure the people watching this, Matt, are people that you've been talking to, probably are aware of things, but both my kids who are teenagers took the jabs, and I would do absolutely anything to mitigate any potential problems. Thank goodness there's nothing that's obvious right now, but I've heard that these patches can help. So I was able to find ways to encourage them to get on them, and they're both taking them now. They're both using them. My son's very
Yes.
Can
So
I ask how
on
old
that,
your son is, please?
my
sure.
son's 19 and my
Okay.
daughter 17. But the way I got my son on board, I mean, he was listening to me the whole time with what was going on. He's aware, he sees a discrepancy in what is going on in the world and what's being told. But these patches also help. It's not just for people who have problems, but Olympic athletes and professional sports players are wearing them, and they're able to increase their power. I mean, Matt's got great testimonial, right? To increase your power, increase the recovery, your stamina, you know, so that was a big sell for him as well.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
on that,
Awesome.
like with some of the older ladies and gentlemen that are having a lot of pain from, you know, I think since that COVID vaccine, there's been a lot of pain, and lower back pain, I think, seems to be a big part of that. And for myself, I've had bad lower back pain since an injury about 17 years ago, and it's got worse and worse. So that's my testimony, and we won't speak too much about it now, but getting out of bed in the morning has been a whole lot easier since these patches. The other thing I wanted to ask Rachel, there's a recommendation around how long you should sort of try these patches for. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so that's an interesting one, because lots of people, the questions have are, well, you know, do I have to take this for life? And it's often coming from people who are on 20 different medications. What their doctor told them, they'll be on it for life. But so these patches actually, they're enhancing your body's ability to heal whatever's damaged. So when you stop the patches, that healing is not going to disappear. Whatever is done is done. But the recommendation really is to get the full scope of the dormant stem cells. You want to wear them for a month for every decade you're alive. So, you know, or whatever you're looking for to get an effect. Like for some people, if they're looking for not having to go get a knee replacement, right? There's one study that was done. I'm still trying to find it, but I did hear someone talking about a study that was done on a bunch of women who were scheduled for knee replacements, but since the surgeries never happened right away, they were going to use that time to put them on the patches and see what would happen. None of them went to go get knee replacements because they regrew their cartilage.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever desired effect you want, you would probably want to wear them for that long, but I would say at least for a month per decade you're alive.
But
And
for
then again,
60 years old, that would be 6 months sort of minimum. That would be what you'd be aiming for, right?
yeah.
Cool.
And then you know, it depends what you want to do, if you want to keep wearing them or you want to stop. Me personally, I am about prevention. So as much as, you know, maybe I might not see things happening on the outside, we know that we're getting damaged on the inside. And from, again, this is from studying that I have done over the last several years. I've done a lot of researching on mitochondria from kind of the without sounding from the experts in the world, but people who have the most experience, right? And mitochondria are the energy factories in every cell in our body. So that is what produces energy. That is how we are alive. Like the less energy we have, the less we can do. The more energy we have, the more we can do. Those energy factories, the mitochondria, we can actually function without noticing dysfunction in our mitochondria for up to 70% of dysfunctional mitochondria. So basically we can have 70% dysfunctional mitochondria and still be walking around thinking we have nothing wrong with us. So with these, like a lot of people that say, well, I'm healthy and I don't have anything wrong with me, they just might not be seeing it yet. You start to see the symptoms after 70%. Once you have 80% dysfunctional mitochondria, that's usually when you're diagnosed with a disease. So now if you think about it, you've got 80% dysfunctional mitochondria. You've got a lot of repairing to do. That's why, you know, it takes time. But even then, if you think about a month per decade of your life, that's still really fast, right? That's still really fast.
So these patches can kind of speed that recovery up, as opposed to having to be on medication for the rest of your life, basically.
Right. Which again is just a Band-Aid, because the minute you stop the medication, the symptoms come back, right? Whereas with these patches, if you stop the patches, you just start to decline at the same rate you did before. It's not like the symptoms come right back, right? The aging process happens like it was before. And so I remember, I mean, I've got my water right here, but I just want to remind myself to share that there's a couple of things that one needs to remember while on the patches to make sure the patches work as well as possible. And one of those things is to make sure that you're adequately hydrated, which usually means drinking more water than most people already do. But it's also to make sure that you're taking in electrolytes. And the reason for the electrolytes is the electrolytes help the water that you drink actually get into the cells. Most of the water that's in our cells is actually produced in the cell. It's actually produced by the mitochondria. So see how that kind of ties together there. If we don't have good functioning mitochondria, we're not actually producing enough water in the body. So there's a whole other topic I could talk about when it comes to kind of optimizing mitochondria, but we want to make sure we're drinking water, electrolytes, which could just be a pinch of sea salt, Redmond's real salt, or Himalayan, or this, you know, as long as it's not refined salt.
We use a good Malcolm Harker has a good one, which has seaweed in it. So it's iodized with seaweed. And that's just Celtic sea salt. Yeah, that's a really good one that's sold in New Zealand.
Yeah. And like, because people don't have to go out and buy electrolytes. You know, they usually come with artificial sweeteners and other kind of chemicals in them. So I would recommend staying away from the artificial stuff. That's me personally, but everyone can do what they want. And the other thing is
easy. The salt's easy. I just put a little bit on my tongue. Dr. Barbara O'Neill, she's an Australian woman. She introduced me to that, and she said just a little bit on your tongue before you drink, or even put it in your drink bottle. But she always said if you're salting your food, to do it just before you serve it. So it's quite easy to use.
To salt your food just before you serve it?
Yeah, she puts the salt in the dish just before as she's finishing. So instead of putting the salt in and the pepper in when you're cooking,
I see what you're saying.
Right at the end, you add the salt in, mix it around, and then put it on the plate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the other thing is, sorry, I still haven't figured out how my phone rings on my computer and I don't know how to disconnect that. Hopefully.
You're a woman in demand.
The other thing to make sure is because these patches work through a copper peptide, we have to make sure we've got copper in the body. And that's one thing that we are, as a general population, deficient in because of the change in agriculture practices for the last century. But copper, so you don't necessarily need to go out and take a copper supplement. What I have my kids doing, because they don't want to eat organ meats, because organ meats has a great amount of copper. You can get basically desiccated organ meat capsules if people don't want to take organ meats. But that's what I do with my kids, because they don't want to, understandably. But because there's twice the amount of copper in, say, beef liver than iron. And a lot of people are concerned about the overloaded iron. That's another whole topic on its own. We're not actually, most people are not deficient in iron. We are, it's just iron dysregulation. So anyways, yeah, the beef organs as well. Shellfish and oysters. Oysters are an amazing food if you can tolerate them. I cannot. Shellfish I can eat. Avocados, nuts, in particular cashews are higher in the nuts, and I think it's sunflower seeds and even some dark chocolate. But I personally have been trying to stay away from the chocolate because of the caffeine. But anybody who does have it, even a tiny little square of dark chocolate has enough copper for the day, kind of thing. So those are really important. And the water and the hydration is very, very important. And it is because this technology, the light actually uses the water network in our body for it to travel. So there's, like, I could talk for a couple of hours on water and the water in the body and how it's different from the water we drink and so on. But just to know that it's important because the light travels through the water network in the body. So that's why it's extremely important to drink. And we're dehydrated. We're very dehydrated as a population, more so now because of all of the technology, all the wireless technology. It's very dehydrating to our cells.
And also, just quickly, probably one of the last things is the detoxification that one might go through when we have the patches on.
Yes. So one can call it detoxification. We can also call it sort of the repair mechanism, because what happens, again, the examples that I like to use, one of them is like a swimming pool. You've got a nice clear swimming pool and you have like a little bit of sediment on the bottom that, you know, settles down at the bottom. But the minute you start stirring up that water, kids jumping in it, that sediment kind of comes and it becomes foggy in the pool, and then it's cleared out in the filters at the top. So that's similar to our bodies. When we start doing repair, we're tearing down tissues, you know, we're breaking things down, just like a renovation in a house. We got to clear it out, and that clearing out often releases a bunch of chemicals in the body that might not feel as good. And so oftentimes things that we have going on in the body might feel like they're getting worse. There's that kind of saying that things have to get worse before they get better. It's not necessarily the most pleasant thing, but that is clearing stuff out to be able to then lay down the new and build the new. And again, I heard another doctor talking about getting into an airplane and encountering turbulence. So kind of like turbulence, if the airplane turned around every time it encountered turbulence, you'd never get to your destination. So with the patches, if one starts to feel that, what is recommended is to reduce the amount of hours that you would wear the patches and work your way up. So for example, starting at, 6 hours for a couple of days or 3 days, and then moving up to 7 or 8 hours and seeing if that feels better. Some people like to just power through and they feel crappy and they're like, I'm just getting this over with, and they stay on it. So everyone's different.
And some are affected more than others. aren't they?
Yeah.
It's very seldom. Well, for me anyway, in my experience, it's been less common for people to sort of really feel like that during the detox stage. So it's probably, for me, it's only one in five that I've seen personally. So pretty uncommon, I think. Awesome.
I've had, it's interesting. I had my neighbor he's 60, he's pretty fit, tells me he's healthy and nothing wrong with him, but I would actually beg to differ based on what I've heard from his lifestyle and history. So everyone's perception is different. He did 30 years ago, tear his tendon off of his AC joint in his shoulder, didn't have surgery, but was able to, the healing happened. He was able to continue to use his shoulder and his arm. And so when he started wearing the patches, he started to get a lot of pain there. And so he called me up and asked me what that was about. So I explained that it's probably going to work on his shoulder. And I don't know if he just didn't believe me or couldn't take it. He went to the emergency department to get some painkillers. He ended up paying for a private MRI because here otherwise it takes 2 years. And after a month, like he had the MRI after a month, the report came back basically saying that they were starting to see the ligament reattaching, and which they couldn't see before. And he continued to have a bit of pain. And so he just stopped wearing the patch. And I said, well, you're stopping the healing there. He's like, I don't care. It was too painful. So I don't know. Everyone's different, right? Like I had suggested just reduce the amount of time and see how it feels. But
well, he got there in the end. He got the information in the end, didn't he?
Well, he did, but I don't think he believes it.
Even after the MRI.
That's what I said. I said, you can't get more of an objective, piece of evidence than an MRI.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, funny.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have any other questions, Lisa?
I do. I definitely do. So thanks for that. I do Reiki, so I deal with energy healing, and it's very, very powerful. I've just been doing some this morning actually for a friend, and she gave me amazing deep tissue massage because I do have a very sore back and neck actually. And so I've written taken notes with a few things I wanted to ask you. So my dad has heart failure as well, so it's quite funny how you talked about that. And he's really unwell, to be honest. He keeps falling asleep, and and he also struggles with moving properly. He's only 72, but he's got really sore back, really bad knees, really, yeah, and not feeling well, at all, and fluid retention. And so the doctor's giving him these pills that make him go pee all the time, and I mentioned to him about maybe getting acupuncture, or I can do Reiki. He's like, oh, you don't understand. The doctor knows what I need. And, so I don't even know if he would be interested in this, So, yeah, anyway, it's frustrating. So he's probably going to listen to this, and and mum encourages him to try different things, but it's yeah. So anyway, that's interesting. So it would a question about him. So the fluid retention, which he's on, those pills that help with that. Would this help in that case with that fluid retention? So he's got heart failure and the fluid retention, which is, I think, related.
Yes. So that's exactly what my mom was dealing with. And so her ability to be able to walk faster and her breathing was better had to do with her heart failure lessening, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's less backing up. And so this is where I was talking about that nurse who was a cardiac surgical nurse. What she said that she saw was people who are coming in heart failure. So that basically means there's difficulty pumping the fluid out of the heart. So usually when you get to, it's called an ejection fraction, the amount of fluid that can actually be ejected from the heart. The ejection fraction, a normal percentage is about 75%. When you start to get below like 40, it's not good. Like 25 and 20%, it's really bad. She's had people coming in who were getting ready for surgery at 20, 25% ejection fraction, doing the echocardiograms, the workup and everything. By the time they went for surgery, they'd always redo the tests right before just to see what changes had taken place, if they got any worse. People on these patches had increased their ejection fractions by 25%, no longer needing surgery. So
Awesome.
for
Awesome.
ejection fraction means you do not have the backup of fluid, so you're not getting the puffy legs and ankles, and you're not having the trouble breathing because of the fluids backing up into the lungs.
Right.
So,
Okay. Well, he will listen to this, and so yeah, that's interesting. So, say if he was interested in giving these things a try, would he go off the medication from the doctor while he's trying that at the same time, or how does that work?
so I would definitely, people who are on medication should continue to see their doctor, because they will do measurements, they'll do clinical testing, ask questions. And like my mom had to have her thyroid medication lowered. There are symptoms you can rely on, and there you can also do lab work, right? And so based on the lab work, because she wasn't having any like obvious symptoms, but based on her lab work, she was putting out a lot of, like, she was producing a lot of thyroid hormone, plus she was taking the same amount, so it was way too high, right? So I would encourage people to continue to see their doctor and have their doctor work with them. The doctor
Sure.
might not know what's going on. But, even if they said this, if your dad said to the doctor, this is what I'm doing, and even if the doctor said you're crazy, we're, patients can do what they want to do, right? And just keep up with measuring the lab work, and then the doctor is going to see before his eyes what's taking place, right? And usually you can't deny that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So just thank you for that. Now, in my case, really the reason I would be using these is for, well, lots of things actually, but mainly my back and my neck issue. Now, it was interesting that, so I did a brachial plexus injury, like through yoga about 4 years ago or something, and my neck is still not great at all. But I find it flares up like my back as well when I'm very busy, and probably not sleeping enough, because I'm just not it. I was telling Matt at the beginning, I think it's an age thing for me and being a female, and I'm just lacking on the sleep department. Although I'm getting enough for me, I still am okay. But, now also, yeah, so I was going to ask about the different types of patches that these are, and also, like, are they different strengths? And also, one last thing is, I have had a melanoma about 13 years ago, and I have to get something cut out. I just went to the specialist yesterday, and I do have to get another one and cut out because it's a bit suspect as well. So is that helpful if you've got sort of skin cancer type stuff? Or yeah, my dad constantly gets things cut out of him as well.
Okay, so I guess at the beginning, I'm going to say now, but just give a medical disclaimer, like this isn't, these aren't treating anything. It's not a cure. It's not diagnosing. This isn't medical advice or anything. But for the first question you asked about the different patches. So the company's 20 years old as far as the network marketing. It's actually 22 years old since he developed the first patch that he developed for the Navy SEALs. And he then developed this X39, which is the stem cell one. And I think that was introduced in 2019. So he developed a bunch of these patches prior to the X39. So the X39 basically, it is the foundational patch to wear for just about everything. Like there's a sleep patch that you can wear, but this X39 also helps with sleep. There's a glutathione patch, but the X39 also increases glutathione. Not necessarily as much as the glutathione patch, but there's also, one that is used for lowering inflammation, but the X39 also lowers inflammation, right? So it kind of, the X39 is really the one you want to start with. It's got
Sure.
everything, and
The
it does,
all-rounder.
yeah,
Yeah.
like none of the other patches increase your stem cell activity and numbers. So I would say that's really the one to start with. Get your body used to it, see how your body responds to it. And then if there's anything else you want to try on top of it, then add it on. You just kind of don't want to start with a whole bunch of things and then you don't know where to go from there and you don't know what's responding to what. And really the X39 is what's taken the company
Still
from a
around.
$20 company to an over $500 million company because of the testimonials. I mean, before I even started, like I was saying, before I even got the patches, I was sharing with some people saying, hey, look, this is what I discovered. It falls right in line with everything I've been learning. There's really no downside to trying it. Do you want to? Because lots of people I know with problems with sciatica, a friend of mine's with sciatica for 5 years. And, you know, I was like, do you want to try it? I have no idea if it's going to work for you, but what's the harm in trying? She's like, give it to me. And literally within 3 hours of putting on the patch, her pain went away. She's like 5 years of agony. And then she forgot it one day, I think. And she was like, the pain came back. She's like, I couldn't believe it. I went home and got the patch, put it on, and the pain went away. So, you know, that kind of put it on a friend of mine, her neck. I didn't even know. I was talking to her about her daughter who has diabetes and seeing that maybe it could kind of help enhance maybe the pancreas to start making its own insulin again. And she was like doing like this kind of movement. I said, what's going on? She said, oh, my neck, you know, I was in a car accident 30 years ago and it's flaring up. And, you know, and I said, oh, let me try. Actually, this one was the pain one. This is the one that I will give to people sort of just as a one-off because it can work that quickly, is the Ice Wave for pain. And I literally went to get it and she's like, Rachel, she's like, it's not going to work. I've tried everything. Just please, you know, I don't want you to be disappointed. I was like, let's just put it on. Let's just see. I have no idea. I literally put, because that one is a 2-patch system. I put one on one side of her neck, one on the other, and she started to do this. And then her eyes just grew really big. And she's like, what the? And she looked at her husband. She's like, she goes, I can't do this normally without any pain. And she was like doing this and she's like back and forth. And she's like, I can't believe this. And that is usually how quickly that particular patch works. And again, it's not blocking any pain pathways, or it's not blocking any biochemical pathways. It's not blocking anything. It's actually enhancing the energy flow, which you would understand with Reiki. Oftentimes pain comes from a blockage of energy. So restoring that energy flow is how the pain is released.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. So for instance, I'm with the sleep thing, I'm sort of like, oh my God, I've tried everything. Like, you know, I can feel like I have. And my house is, or my pantry is like a sleep remedy shop, you know, with all these things and nothing's working at the moment. But like, for instance, with the sleep one, do people have a lot of success with that? And how long would it take, etc.? Please.
So again, everyone's different. I have tried the sleep one. The first night for me, I felt like I had a really deep sleep. I didn't sleep through the night, but I felt like it was really deep. And then it didn't really do much for me after that. But one of my neighbors who we started, so the couple, the woman's in her 70s and the man's in his 80s, and he's got 3 types of cancer. He's had surgery, he's got heart issues, he's got nerve problem, whatever. We're always talking. And then I said to her, I said, how are you doing? She's like, well, aside from the fact that I'm not sleeping. And I said, here, take this sleep pad. So I saw them on my walk the next day and I was like, oh, I said, by the way, how was your sleep? And she said it was a miracle. I slept 7 hours straight. I haven't slept 7 hours straight in I don't know how many years. So everyone's different.
Yeah,
I know
totally.
one of the testimonies I heard this, I don't know if he was a Navy SEAL, but he was someone, you know, someone in the military army, whatever. Anyways, I think someone was trying to give him the patches and he was like, you know what? I've only ever slept 3 to 4 hours a night my whole life. Like, just don't even try. And apparently after 6 weeks, he was sleeping. He slept 7 hours one night, 10 hours the next night, 12 hours the next night. And he was like in shock. But it took him 6 weeks.
Right. Okay. Now, these sound amazing. And
Would it
I
be a
guess a
good time?
question.
Sorry, would it be a good time to actually just share my screen and show you some of the stuff or how the
Yes,
package works? Yeah.
yes, please.
Do you have any more questions for Rachel
I
directly?
guess my main thing was going to be, definitely I'm interested, and I am going to the States in about 2.5 weeks for 3 weeks. So I was just going to say, is it much cheaper if I buy it over there, or just the best plan for me, basically? Is it much cheaper, and can we buy it in New Zealand? Like, what? Yeah, which I guess Matt's going to cover now, but
Well, the price
I?
is the same, but I
Okay.
think you don't have the taxes that
Mm.
at least that we have in Canada and that a lot of other countries have. So
Oh, you got taxes there too, on top of things in
I'm
Canada,
under the impression
right?
that it's $1,000. Anything under $1,000, they won't stop it at the border. But I
Okay.
have had a recent client get hers stopped at the border, and she had to pay $70 to, I think it was 70 for
Okay,
taxes.
but it's the same price anyway, Matt, if we get it here or there.
Yeah, just the delivery costs. So
Okay.
it arrives within about 4 or 5 days, so it's really quick. So I think it's about
Cool.
$20 for the gold package, which is 5 months, which I can go through now. But I just thought maybe
Yeah, no, that'd be cool.
let Rachel go if you go somewhere, Rachel, or would you like to stick with us just for the next 10 minutes?
I'm happy if you want. I'm happy to stay on. Yeah.
Okay. Right, so I'll just screen share, and can you guys see that there?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this is the back end, and this is if I am going to enroll a new partner. So this is where somebody is able to distribute themselves. So this will give you access to the back end of this business as well, so that you can go in, you can order more yourself, or you can order for other people, and you can also sign up other people. Okay, the best bet is always to enroll, because you get a better deal, and also there is an opportunity for you to earn US dollars from that, which can help to fund your own patching as well. So what I always recommend is starting with the gold, because the gold's got 5 months of the X39 and you get 1 free sleeve. And also, if it comes time that you want to reorder, whether you've patched mum and dad, or usually you patch someone else in your family, so you go through them a lot quicker than 5 months, which would normally be 5 months worth for one person. And then you might want to upgrade. This is actually changing, I think, at the end of September as well. So this one's disappearing. Is that right, Rachel?
Yeah. It will basically be the equivalent of the silver, gold, and diamond.
Yeah. So, and I actually went up to the diamond enrollment because I had some really good, I had some good benefits that I saw for myself and my father, who's got muscular dystrophy, and I can share some of my testimonials on that later on. So I upgraded to the diamond, to the most I could get, and I never got stopped at the border. And I think because this one here is $500 US, this one here is 1,600. Because when I upgraded, it wasn't a larger amount. That it is over 1,000 though, isn't it? 1,000 NZ. So I'm not sure why, but I was told by somebody that I was talking to about this last night, a customer, and she said it was 1,000 New Zealand dollars, but maybe it's a little bit more than that because I never got charged. So the best bet is to start here, and then you can upgrade. And when you upgrade, you then get huge benefits as well. You're still getting more sleeves than if you were just buying them retail. So retail, they're $150. If you buy them as a partner, they're $100. And then if you buy them as a package, they get cheaper as well. And when you upgrade, there's ways of actually getting them cheaper. Okay, so lots of benefits in enrolling. This is the classic gold enrollment. So you get 5 sleeves of the X39, and then you get what we're talking about. This has popped up, the Silent Night patches. Okay, so you can actually change that if you wish to. Here's the other patches that are available. So if you want to try something else, and you mentioned Lisa, that, sleep might be a nice focus for you.
Definitely.
There's other ones. There's weight loss. There's there's Immuno Boost. What's this one, Rachel? Help me out. This is Organ Boost, Carnosine. And then this is the Ice Wave, which is painkiller that Rachel was talking about. And then the Energy Enhancer, or the sleep one, but the Energy Enhancer as well, which I'm using at the moment.
It sounds good. The Energy Enhancer one sounds really good as well, because I'm trying to stop drinking coffee as well, because I'm having lack of sleep, and then I'm drinking the coffee, and I'm trying to get energy naturally, ideally.
Yeah. Well, I think also as the body detoxes and as we start feeling better, we're actually less reliant on those stimulants, because we're getting a natural stimulant. That's just my personal experience. So what you can do is you can actually X that out, and then you can choose a different one. And you can actually change this. You can reduce that, and see down here, it's green, this bar at the bottom of the screen. So you can actually add a different one as well. But like Rachel was saying, the key is to get as many X39s as possible, because even if you're not seeing the physical benefit of, say, a good night's sleep or more energy during the day, there will be benefits happening inside your body. So the X39 is getting the most of that is key, especially at the beginning, and especially if you're using it for others. If you've got others that you're going to patch, like your mum and dad, you want as many of those as you can, and then on your next order, then you can order some other ones as well. So the other thing is these ones are actually cheaper. So for example, you can actually get 2 or maybe even 3 of these. So that's
so the patches are different prices depending on what they are.
These ones are all different price to the X39. The X39 is I think $20 US more expensive. And then you get the sales aids, which is just information on your enrollment and sort of a welcome on board from the company. So from there, if you were to, that is how I started. Am I missing anything, Rachel?
No.
From there is a monthly subscription, which you can do, which helps you to retain your points and your money. You can unselect that to start with if you wish, and you can change that later on. But after a month, you sort of lose your points. So the idea is to keep ordering. And I know that sounds a bit off-putting for new customers, and I was put off by that, but I just deselected that. And then, like within 4 to 5 days, I saw huge benefits, and so did my dad. So, by the end of the month, I was reordering, and I actually upgraded to Diamond, and now I've patched a few others, friends, family friends, and family members too on that extra.
And then really, if I can just interject too, Matt, I'm sure every single person can think of at least 4 people that they could potentially patch. And if you enroll 4 people, you've got your monthly subscription paid for and more. So it's really, as far as the business goes, it's not a business that feels like, I would say that you're selling, like, some of the other businesses that are selling like skin creams and that kind of thing, where not almost everybody has a health issue. Almost everyone could benefit from. I would say everyone could, but some people don't feel that.
The pain side of things. So I've got a very good friend of mine, his father, I've been doing some work on a boat with him, and he's in a lot of pain, and it's affecting his mood. And so I patched him. I also gave him some water that I sell, this special pH 9.5 water, just to help him. And, by the end of the day, he was actually feeling better. But he was saying, because he had some acupuncture and worked with a chiropractor, he was saying that, it could be that. So there's always like this guess. Like, wow, is it the patches? Could they be doing this? Could they be working that quick? Well, I would say, obviously a combination of those 3, but definitely you notice the difference immediately. Well, most people do, and I think there are a few people that take a lot longer to notice the difference. But yeah, when you start sort of going, oh, is it or is it not? That's when you're noticing
I
it.
do have a question for Rachel. Now, two questions actually. I'm going to naturopath tomorrow to pick up what she's made for me, which is hopefully for, well, it's for sleep and, you know, other, I can't remember what else, but so would you say, yes, use that remedy as well as the patches? And my next question is, can you use several patches at once? You know, like, could I use my sleep thing and the pain thing together?
You can use whatever you want with the patches. It's up to you whether you want to see whether one thing is working or if these kind of
Yeah.
combinations. Really sure. You can use several patches at once, but again, it's suggested to just start off with the X39 to see how your body responds because everyone's so different.
Sure. Okay.
You can add on, like I added, for example, without getting, I didn't want to get too confusing, but I added the X49 for my mom because that is, it elevates a peptide that is considered like a daughter peptide to what the X39 increases, but it's found more specifically in heart, brain, muscle, and bone. So my mom was just really gung-ho to like, let's really target the heart. So she's got the X39 and the X49, but she was on the X39 for a month first, just to make sure her body, you know, it wasn't too challenging for her to manage.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
We actually
Very, very lucky last question is my 13-year-old son, he's very low immunity for some reason. He's just always been like this. Would it help with immunity, that X39? And is he that age okay?
so they haven't, you know, just sort of, again, there haven't been any studies done on children or pregnant women. So it's up to every individual. I know, I mean, a good friend of mine patched her son who is 8 years old, another friend, 9 years old, others, little kids. Because really it's not introducing anything into the body. The body is just responding to its own light. So, you know, it's up to you. Some people have specifically got these patches for their kids because of their kids' issues, right?
Yes, well, my friend also has two boys with muscular dystrophy, age 13 and I think 9. So, yeah, I think she's interested. She couldn't make it today, unfortunately, so she was interested. Yeah.
Well, you know, and I'm just going to share this story. It's not muscular dystrophy, but it, you know, and it's slightly different, but multiple sclerosis. A friend of mine that I signed up in the UK was telling me someone that she's in part of a group with, like, because she's over in the UK, so she's in the community there, even though she signed up with me. She said one of the people that has been patched has multiple sclerosis. She's been on the X39 for only 2 months. 2 months. And this woman had been basically, you know, for 30 years, all she would do is get up when she could get up, sit in a chair most of the day. She was an avid horseback rider and swimmer prior to that. She had pain. She had high blood pressure. She had neuropathy to the point where she could put her hand in a pot of boiling water and not feel it. So they had to change the house, like the temperature, the thermostat, the water temperature and everything. Anyways, 2 months, she 2 weeks ago started swimming again. She's up walking every day with energy. She has lowered her blood pressure medication. She threw like threw a hot potato out of her hand because she was feeling the heat. Like normally she just grabs the potato and she like threw it out because it was so hot. So she's starting to get feeling back in her hand. Like it's remarkable. That was
Cool.
2 months. It's not saying everybody responds that way.
Exactly.
But
yeah. Amazing. Thank you. Thanks so much for all of this. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm definitely going to do this. So I should be able to figure all that out. Matt, should I by myself?
Yeah, like just get back to me and then I can run you through this again and just show you you know how
Okay.
it works again if you like.
I'll message you and maybe just you can direct me to where to go, and
Sure.
or just give me a message. I don't know. We'll sort it out.
Yeah.
But thanks very
No,
much, Rachel and
Oh,
Matt.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
And one last thing, I just wanted to share with you, and this is aside from the patches. I'm not sure where you're at with your lifestyle, but I know that one thing that it helps 99.9% of people with sleep issues is if I don't know if you have blue blockers, but if you wear blue,
Yeah, I've been looking into this big time. It's funny you say that. Yeah, I am going to get some blue blockers for sure.
and wear them after sunset, like the orange ones,
Totally.
or the
Yeah.
you get up
Yeah.
with
So
some.
do you have both colors?
I do. I've got the daytime, but I'm outside right now, so I don't wear them when I'm outside. But I've got the daytime, evening, and nighttime ones.
Yeah, awesome.
That's a huge part of my life. But the other thing is to get up and see the sunlight at sunrise, because that
I do that. I do that anyway because I'm awake. Of course.
Without your glasses on, or with them on.
No, because I don't have the glasses yet. So yeah.
The glasses you're wearing right now. When you see sunrise.
Yeah, I probably do actually, because I'm quite blind, so I do wear these all the time. So no glasses on.
No, naked eyes outside,
Okay.
not through windows, because windows block the important frequencies.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that.
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you so much, Rachel. Thanks for joining us. And thanks, Lisa, for coming along. And I will have this sent through. I'll send a link through, so I'll download it so that it's easier to send. And that'll last for 7 days. So if you want to flick that round to anybody that wants to see this. All right, great.
Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Ed. Okay.
See you.
See ya.
Nice to see you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.